Yo, what is up guys, BobbyDCMking here, and today we're going to be doing the pre-merge character and gameplay ranking, where I'll be ranking the characters based on how much I like them and how well I think they played on this individual season. This list will include Benji since even though he is coming back, he was still eliminated, so I feel like including him in this assessment. So without further ado, let's begin with the character rankings first. And what a shock, in dead last we have Anastasia, and I've already ranted on her a bunch in my previous episode review, and a lot of my issues still resonate here. It's fine to have a morally flawed character. I'd argue they make for the best characters. However, they don't treat Anastasia like she's a flawed person despite her actions last season. They really expect us to forget that she was just focused on the game too much, and that was her issue, when that was one out of the 100 reasons as to why I have an issue with her moral high horse behavior. She treats characters like Linda, Natalia, Zaid, all extremely poorly in different ways. She dislocates Ivy's shoulder in a challenge where it just wasn't necessary for her to do that. She's so unnecessarily aggressive and is allergic to taking true accountability, which makes her moral high horse behavior here grate on me so much more since the show does her growth off screen. Her dynamics with everyone feel largely the same, vanilla. I don't think there's a single positive dynamic that Anastasia has that I genuinely care about because it makes Anastasia a better character. It just doesn't, and I feel the conversation that she has with Slake could have been done with Rosa since it could have made their relationship have more layers since Rosa practically adopted her in season 2. You know what else could have and should have been done with Rosa? The Alec rivalry. Yep, I am never going to shut up about how this plotline should have went to Rosa. Yes, Anastasia has every right to not like Alec, especially with the context of her parents. He's not a good person or a father whatsoever, but she should be the last person to give him that talk. And while she's right about Alec being selfish for competing and causing his son to think about him, the situation has nuance. Alec is not doing well financially. I've shat on this dynamic a billion times already, but all you need to know is that I think Alec is a bad person and should have mentally faced the fact that he's hurt his kid probably more than he'll ever know, but Anastasia is the last person who should be standing on her horse barking that he's an awful person when her treatment to those she views as less is just as bad. Also, her causing Alec's downfall didn't even help her character become more likable, and if that wasn't even the point of doing this to begin with, then I don't know why the hell they even gave the storyline to Anastasia to begin with. Maybe it's because she really has nothing to do, but that's probably because she's not much of a favorite to begin with, because she's not really that great of a character. Rescue Island, she's used to fuel Benji, but that conversation literally goes nowhere since Benji is still in his own head. Having Ali talk some sense to Benji at night would have been better since he would have felt comfortable bringing up his parents earlier, so we wouldn't have to deal with this conversation mid-challenge. They should have actually used her negative force for Benji, so when he eventually beats her, she realized how undermining people is wrong, so then she can focus on that, and it would have made her character feel more real. But no, Anastasia just feels so fake and manufactured. Anastasia is just a character who turns me off because she doesn't realize how much of a superiority complex that she actually has. And even though I love Chase in the reboot for being oblivious to how destructive he is, it's because the show actually knows who he is. I don't think the writers know who Anastasia is, to where I won't be shocked if after the season she places directly at the bottom for my full character rankings, and I won't be shocked when I have her as my least favorite character ever because she's so unreal annoying. At number 11, another annoying character to watch, and it's Benji. Benji's a character that had no reason to be a pre-merge boot. I actually don't mind the reason as to why he doesn't want to try because of his parents, but if you're only going to mention that once in the episode where he comes back and not give an extra episode at Rescue Island to flush it out, it just feels kind of weird and feels like a lazy excuse to ignore Benji all of pre-merge and just have him be this fodder to a Gary Sue. It's largely why I'm so neutral on Benji returning, because obviously I don't want his character to be ruined, but I feel the way they went about writing Benji just doesn't make much sense. When he is on screen, he's pretty miserable to watch. Relatable, sure, but it's not really fun watching your favorite character be reduced to just doing nothing for like 10 episodes. When he does try, it's whatever. I honestly felt nothing, and overall as Benji, I just feel pretty much nothing for him. He's boring, he's pretty irritating in how he doesn't really listen to people when he's being told to lock in, and I just can't bring myself to care for him like I did in Carnival of Chaos. His elimination is bad, but I can't feel bad since he did nothing but sulk for like 90% of it outside of his conversations with Rosa and Ali. Benji better improve in the merge because right now he is on thin ice. At number 10, we have the first boot of the season, Aubrey, who was fine. Her stereotype feels very total drama coded and I don't know how to feel about it. On one hand, this leads to some funny scenes even though I don't know much about astrology aside from the fact that I'm a Virgo, but it just feels so unrealistic that in a more grounded world, Aubrey's playing the game using zodiac signs as a strategy, which is just pretty dumb, and I think it's clear that Aubrey is just a throwaway character, especially with her now returning to potentially help Olivia see that even though she's a weirdo, she's still a good person and can have friends. It's hard not to think about what could have been with Aubrey. She's an okay comedic relief objectively, though I would have her towards the lower end of that. I think there could have been a balance with her. She can still be superstitious of people's zodiac signs like with Sam, but could take herself a bit more seriously instead of just coming across as a little crazy. No shade of people who partake in astrology, but if you're as invested as Aubrey and playing a social strategy game, calling out your number one target because of his zodiac sign is a move that just makes you look insane, though we'll just talk about that on the gameplay rankings. At number 9, we have Ernesto, and Ernesto falls into this likable older contestant who didn't get a whole lot to do, but from what we saw, I think he's a likable character. He wants to be taken seriously as this leader, but can't find his voice on a team that has Finn and Ara. Ren is able to make Ernesto feel heard, and I find their bond to be pretty wholesome. Also, I don't know what it is, but seeing Ernesto not happy makes me sad, so there's a slight emotional attachment there. But yeah, aside from helping Ren with the wood cravings for Dunia, he's just alright. Probably in line with a Richard where I like them, but they don't really serve much to the overall story. At number 8, we have Manu, who was what I was expecting coming from him in the preseason. A character with poor reads like when he flips because Aiden says that Evie has an advantage, which knowing Evie, is she really gonna play it? Also, it's clear that Aiden is just bluffing about her playing it. Also, Evie just doesn't have anything in general, so yeah. However, he's pretty cool, and he also just comes across as a great guy. Even though he doesn't like Finn and Ara for how they treat people, specifically Bruno, he doesn't treat them the same way that they treated him. And he still applauds Bruno when he does well in challenges, even though they're on different teams. Plus, the short stuff nickname is honestly really cute. Manu is also just the perfect older brother. Not as perfect as me though, but I digress. The scene where he explains why he's on the show is just really nice, and I can't help myself but to not like Manu. A little raunchy at points, but considering he was a pre-merger, I think he's good for what he is. At number 7, we have the first person to go to the motel, and it's Alec, and Alec was unfortunately... he was losing his touch on the season. He got an advantage, which was a very funny scene, but him being so against Natalia and trying to make alliance with Tom out of all people to take on Natalia, it's just so dumb, and Tom saying he's losing his touch, it was a beyond irritating scene to say the least. It's cute that he believes in Fury during episode 2's challenge, and him also being upset that the votes are on her. But the fact that they don't have a conversation over Anastasia's words to him and calling him out for his treatment of his son is such a missed opportunity. Like with what I said for Lake and Rosa, this could have added some complexity to their relationship, since Alec is practically Fury's dad at this point. It just sucks that most of Alec's screen time on his final season is him being dunked on and having to deal with a parasite named Anastasia sucking the light out of him. But Alec still being Alec is enough to place him higher than the others. I don't like the tiebreaker, but I do like the scene where Alec accepts that he should move on, probably because it's just him reflecting and not Anastasia forcing him to reflect, which just proves how unlikable Anastasia is if I'm still rooting for the neglectful father. Alec having a bittersweet ending makes sense, but they could have done a lot better with him. I have high hopes for him in the motel episode, but if he disappoints, expect his ranking on the overall rankings to be a lot lower. At number 6, the character who finally got me to appreciate her this season, and it's Allie, and before this season, I was not a big Allie fan. I felt like in season 2, she was just a third wheel to Hunter and Tess from an entertainment lens, and in All-Stars, she was just fighting with Jake, and I don't think anyone likes that dynamic. Here though, she learns from All-Stars and can play a more cutthroat game. Even if it was hard, she was able to take out Aiden and her flop friend Benji for the idol. She's also really funny on the season, saying that Tom is cool, popular, and good at challenges got a good laugh out of me, even though it's a dumb and obvious reference to Hunter. My main issue with her is that even though she does have stuff to do, she feels largely important. She pulls off the Benji blindside, but the show doesn't really treat it like it's a big thing even though it is. Probably because she gets taken out with an idol in her pocket later, but whatever. Allie was just a good character to watch when she was on screen, and despite the show not highlighting her as much as they should have, I still like her, so she's here at number 6. Now at the top 5, all 5 characters that I love and will glaze, but at number 5 we have Evie. Evie was my favorite character coming out of episode 1, and that is because she literally has no idea what planet she's on, and it is just so funny. Her stick of being so lost but still talking to people at a constant even though it's not relevant whatsoever is hilarious. She's so carefree and high maintenance that it just makes her an iconic gem to watch. Evie could have been the first boot, she could have been the final pre-merge boot, and I probably would have still loved her the same even if her plot was drawing dead. She may be a bad player, but I just can't hate her because she's just so ridiculous that I can't take her seriously. She bounces off Aiden really well. The scene where she asks him how he's still dating James is really funny. Her asking Finn if Alec is gay as if he would know the answer to that is also humorous, and yeah, I'm just repeating myself. Evie is a really funny character, and Evie is as funny as she is as being bad at challenges, so yeah, a pretty great character in my mind. At number 4, we have a character that has the second best design in Emily, and it's Dunia. I love Dunia's aura. She's a warm, calming presence that can cheer anyone up and get people to come out of their shell. And while this ends up costing her since Sam ends up targeting her and ruins her love life, Nora ends up really warming up to Dunia despite their initial differences. Dunia being able to clearly read people makes her like a more human Dawn. And if I already love Dawn, I will love Dunia as well. She has a great dynamic with Ren, and I love the talk that she gives them when they talk about playing Idolina. Her and Nora are obviously adorable, where Dunia's intentions were pure from the start, so it sucks seeing her get taken out. And even with Sam, there's some fun to be had. Dunia is just such a fun presence on screen. At number 3, probably a controversial take to have this character at number 3, and it's Finn. Obviously the main detractors of Finn is his treatment to the women, which, yeah, optic-wise this doesn't really look good, but personally I believe that Finn is just a bully and not this misogynistic gay that a lot of people on Twitter will claim him as. However, for me, since I view Finn as a bully and not that, I don't really feel guilty liking this character. Also, he's not that wrong for being upset with some weird girl that's throwing challenges for no reason, since they already have Evie, who's already a dead weight in challenges. I think him going off on Olivia is funny because it's entertaining, and he doesn't really tell any lies, since what indication did he give Olivia that he wanted to be friends with her? I know that Olivia fans will be in my comments telling me that I'm morally wrong for liking Finn, but I really don't care. He's a cartoon villain. I just didn't see this outrage when he and Ara were just tag teaming Bruno, but whatever. But beyond the Olivia situation, Finn is just funny as hell. The advantage line is so funny, and his voice actor did an incredible job with all of his overreactions and clever one-liners to put others down. Like Evie, I find his challenge performance to be always entertaining. Rather he chickens out in episode 5 or undercuts Aubrey and Ara for an ostrich, he can do it all and still be entertaining. His crush on Tom is also a fun little side plot as well, and I understand that Finn is a villain that debatably goes too far, but I think there's always a justification, and he's also funny as hell, so I'm not going to punch him on the rankings. He's here at number 3 because honestly, I just really love his character. The top 2, the fan versus a favorite, and at number 2 we have Aiden. And I don't know what to tell you guys, I just love Aiden's brash villain run. Right from the get-go this season, Aiden wants to prove how good of a player he actually is, making a majority sign an alliance and putting the target onto Alec's back. The issue? Well, he believes Alec when he says that he doesn't have anything and he's taken out in episode 2. But then we get his captain run on the fans where he hastily puts a target on Ernesto's back, and that scene, while frustrating at first, is funny on a rewatch and saves Evie so they can continue being a comedic duo of gold. And him convincing Manu to flip was also a fine scene. He flips to get out Manu, and he's so cocky while doing so that you just honestly have to laugh, since the only reason why he's in power is because of Sam and Ara. He just has no idea that he's just their figurehead. His reaction to the first Finn vote is also really funny as well, and I like that even though Aiden is a messy character on his team, he never does anything too vile. And then he's unfortunately taken out because Nina hates him, but he's also a terrible player, and pretty much it says that he's just using the fans to get back with the favorites, which is dumb but pretty in character for this cockier Aiden. I had a lot of fun with Aiden this time around, and if he had a better Rescue Island showing, he would probably be number 1 on this list. He also just owns Sleepaway Camp, so yeah. And that means at number 1, fan turn favorite Bruno, who is a fantastic character. Did you guys see what I did there? Unlike with Benji, Bruno is the good type of relatable, the eager superfan who wants to make a name for themselves. Also, his fear of failing again in episode 2 is portrayed really well, and honestly, Bruno is a large reason as to why I'm not as negative on the early episodes of the season. He is just so wholesome and relatable, and I also love his friendship with Lake. It's really sweet, and I love how supportive they both are of each other. We should talk about his dynamic with Spencer, and it's honestly... it's something. I like that Bruno stands up to him before he leaves, but before that, the dynamic honestly didn't do much to highlight Bruno's character in a way that justifies him being at number 1. It's a glimpse of how he's treated by his boss probably though, so I'm glad at the end of the day it looks like he's developed a backbone, though in the future when Spencer arrives to the motel or gets disrespected again, he can stick up for himself. But the main reason as to why Bruno is at number 1 is just his positive attitude. As crazy as it sounds coming from a Finn lover, and also Bruno is the least flawed. I love his idea to play hide and seek, him telling Spencer the best vote out of the season was Hannah taking him out, and overall whatever Bruno does I'm invested and entertained, so he's here at number 1. It's a shame he won't return because I would have loved to see Spencer have to deal with both Sam and Bruno. Okay, so we wrapped up the character rankings, now let's dive into how well they played on the season, and in dead last, no surprise, it's Aubrey, who blows up her spot before elimination where she wasn't even a target on the board to expose Sam. Even though she's right about Sam being evil, she does it in the worst way and makes an ass out of herself, so yeah, she's here at number 12. At number 11, a character who is never going to do well, and it's Alec, who was a target right from the jump with none of the heroes messing with him, Anastasia hating him, and he makes it clear that he doesn't want to work with Natalia to where he was never going to do extremely well, even if he won the tiebreaker since Anastasia was headhunting for him. And knowing how the show treats her versus Alec, we all know who's winning that war. And since he didn't even play that well while he was on the bottom, he's at number 11. At number 10, we have Manu, who flips on his side and doesn't cause a tiebreaker out of fear, but it's not like you're drawing rocks in Survivor. You can just have Evie and Ernesto duel in a tiebreaker and whatever happens, happens. But he flips, and even his new side hates him and gets so annoyed with him that they target him and Olivia flips on him. It's just a game of bad decisions, and he does get unlucky that Olivia is just an insecure social loser, because realistically, Olivia does vote to keep him. Also, he gets unlucky with Bruno leaving the team to where Bruno could have vouched for him, but yeah. At number 9, a character who actively sets up his own downfall, and it's Finn. Finn was in the majority for the first 3 votes, but became a target by his own doing. He was right in calling out Olivia for being stupid and throwing challenges, but he comes across as a dick. And even though I like it, it does taint his game and Sam flips on him. He also sets Finn up even harder with his conversation with Ren to where the votes were going to always land on Finn, to where yeah, he's here at number 9. At number 8, someone who's definitely debatably the worst player here overall, and it's Evie, where outside of the first vote, she's really just a mess who stays with no effort being done by herself. It's either the villain side saving her, or her blowing up her own game to take out Aiden. Granted, Aiden still leaves with Sam seemingly being done with Aiden, but it's not great for Evie to actively lead the charge against Aiden, to where after she does, she's just taken out immediately afterwards. You can argue she should be lower, but I don't think she plays the worst game here, and doesn't strategically cause her own downfall aside from just being terrible at challenges and just not really being that much of help. Actually, she debatably should be lower, but you know what? I do think the other people's flaws are worse, so yeah, she's here at number 8. Speaking of Aiden, at number 7, we have Aiden, who instantly gets voted out on his own team. That's not good, gets saved due to a twist, does get his way in the next 2 votes, but once he loses Finn, he's just a prime target to be taken out, especially when Sam finds out that Evie just doesn't have anything. His dominance is also questionable, where outside of convincing Manu to flip, he doesn't really do anything that impressive to place him higher. Plus he gets Evie, his number 1 in the game, to actively target him, so yeah. At number 6, we have someone who doesn't really do much wrong to cause his elimination, and had a group around him, and it's Ernesto. He was helpful in challenges, and people seem to respect and value him near the end of his run, to where honestly if the target was on someone like Olivia and Olivia goes, I think he's in it for a longer ride. He really gets unlucky that Aiden pulls Manu before Tribal, and I think he plays okay enough aside from admitting that he's a threat, which is pretty dumb, but not as dumb as the others, so yeah. At number 5, someone who didn't really play that actively, and it's Dunia. Dunia was on the outs during the Manu and Ernesto rounds, but she's able to bounce back in the next 2 votes. The problem with her game is that her social game is really strong, and her ability to make Sam come out about his dead husband made her the next person to go without another option in the mix. It doesn't help that Aura and Olivia are actively jealous of her as well, and Nura and Ren hate each other, and since those two were never going to vote with each other, and Sam, Aura, and Olivia were always going to jump her, so yeah, she was pretty much just fucked. At number 4, someone who gets a Zayd-like elimination and plays a mid-game like Zayd, and it's Anastasia, who was on the right side of the Aiden vote and is the reason why Alec goes home, but since she doesn't want to patch things up with Spencer and was a little too late with Natalia, it's like almost as if she should have been focusing on building those connections instead of harshing on Alec, but whatever. She was good with the stagnant heroes until there was a miscommunication situation where Gabby thinks she lied and Natalia acts like she did, and well, Anastasia is just out. If they had talked beforehand, then this obviously doesn't happen, but even then she was such a huge target for Natalia that I could see her going, since it doesn't really benefit Bruno, Spencer, or Fiore to really keep her. The reason why she's higher than Dunia though is because 1, Anastasia was more in the know in the game and was more well connected on her team, and 2, the reason is just kind of faulty, as how has Rosa not talked to her about this, and 3, I don't think Dunia was playing as active as a game, so yeah, Anastasia is higher. At number 3, we have Benji, who does nothing, really lets Ali take control as he sits back. Voting out Alec is a terrible move since he's a shield in front of him, and he's so bad that Ali ends up turning on him since she thinks that she can play better on her own. not an active game, and shitty choices, but longevity boosted him here. At number 2, this character suffers from a Zaid-like situation again, where they don't really do much wrong in the game, and it's Bruno. And Bruno on the initial fans team was probably in a suboptimal spot, getting somewhat saved by the Aubrey meltdown since Finn and Aura had him in their sights. Then he gets swapped to the favorites, where despite being on the outs in the Alec vote, he's in the majority and debatably in the best spot in the game once the Let Me Explain squad comes together, where if it weren't for Spencer being insecure, he ignores what Fury says and doesn't pull the awful move in taking out Bruno. So for almost having it all, he is here at number 2. And at number 1, obviously this person is far and away the best played game out of the pre-mergers, and it's Allie, where initially she's in the majority and is the deciding factor in the Aiden vote, votes out Alec and Anastasia, and then takes out Benji for the idol, which is a move that I do agree with, as now she has the full idol and can easily play both sides. She could have gotten away without backchecking with Tom and Gabby if Fury wasn't in the damn tree. Seriously, the fact that Fury's just miraculously at the same tree as Allie's group is talking is just ridiculous, but yeah, she had an instinct that she could be going but didn't play the idol, which is obviously a misread, but I understand why she thought she didn't need to. I think Allie plays a very strong game, all things considered, and if Fury didn't catch her, she's easily a merger, so yeah, she's here at number 1. And that is the pre-merge character assessment. Thank you guys all for watching, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and yeah, peace out.